Good morning, Matt Lindsay here. How are you getting on? Right, today we're going to be talking about foundational links. And this is the process that I personally go through to build foundational links. I use a process from this piece of software called SEO Buddy, and they've got this thing called Link Chest. Now, this was on AppSumo. I don't know if it's still on AppSumo, but regardless, it's quite a useful tool in terms of basically building contextual links to your business and basically building the brand for the company. As you can see, I've gone through and ticked off WordPress, I've done Instagram. I haven't done this one because it needs a mobile number, GitHub, you can do Firefox, Adobe, etc, etc. Now these are ranked in terms of their domain rating. So as you can see, we've got 99, 97, 95, 95, etc, etc going on. Now, in terms of the instructions that they give, basically they give you the ability to, I'll just show you an example of basically pop a link into one of the websites. So if how to get a backlink on imdb.com, you create an account, you view the email addresses, you go to your account settings, edit your profile, etc, etc, and then you put your domain in like that, and that gives you your backlink. So that's one way of doing it. Now, obviously you can get a link on Pixabay in the same way as well. But what I like to do is take it one step further. I think it's really important to create a network of these sites that all link together. So that becomes your tier one foundational links that point to your website. And then over the top of that, I'm going to then point mass links to this to these pages as well. So hopefully the individual pages should get more authority, which in turn should leach down to domain. And just to kind of show you the context of that. So for example, on our GitHub repository that we've created, we've got a domain, we've got WordPress, we've got Instagram, we've got the SoundCloud, etc, etc. The Facebook link isn't right on there. That's something that I need to repair. But again, what I'm also doing, for example, on Blogger, you could just set up the domain and do nothing with it. But what we're doing is actually writing a piece of content that's got images in it. It's got contextual links. So on and so forth. So the idea being this gives us more authority, and then we've got all of these other platforms that are internally linked. So what this creates is a mesh. So what we're going to do is obviously create all of these links. So if there's 1,000 there, of those there might be 200 or 300 where we can internally link them, and obviously we're going to have to be selective about which ones we do, but what that's going to give us is a very good foundational linking profile. And in my opinion, it builds trust in Google's eyes because it's the behaviors of a proper business. It's establishing a footprint, it's establishing its assets, digital assets, and building them out. So for example, I've got on Gravatar, I've got all of these that have been set up. So I've got the GitHub, I've got the Medium, I've got the Blogger, I've got the SoundCloud, etc, etc. So these all are internally linking, and the idea is that Biotech Renewables, which is the brand name that we're focusing on, gets the domain authority and gets the reputational authority from all of these internal links. So this is the process that I'm going through. You can get a virtual assistant, so there's a beta stage process where you can hire a VA to do it. I'm not convinced that they're going to do it in the way that I want it done, so I'm doing these myself, but I probably will be hiring someone to do these going forwards. But this is how I've basically built out domain authority for local sites. Now, with our solar proposition, this is obviously focusing on multi-location. So what we're going to try and do is basically get a brand that gets accepted and identified by Google. Once we've got the brand that's accepted by Google, then obviously with some page authority, with some domain authority on the home page, what we're then going to start doing is basically building links out to the separate towns, and some of that will naturally seep through. So the way that the website is set up, from the home page it goes through to the counties, from the counties then it's through to the individual respective towns. And if we need to boost those respective towns, then we've got various activities that we can do to boost those individual pages. But in the short term, what we're trying to do is create that branding, and around 70% of the links need to be brand keywords or naked links, with some keywords thrown in, but we're not trying to do keyword heavy optimized links in the first instance. What we're trying to do here is create a brand, and then that follows over time with the addition of further things that we'll add on. So we'll do cloud stacking, we'll potentially do some Google Drive stacks, and these are the things that can potentially inch you up in terms of Google's eyes for particularly local searches. Now, if you were doing a local town or city domain, I think that in reality, and this is maybe a test that I could do, and maybe we could do this just as a side project, is I think just by completing these and linking them together in the way that I've shown would be enough to outrank most competition, particularly if you had a keyword-rich domain. So, I don't know, London roofing. That probably wouldn't work because it's going to be too competitive. But if we went for a smaller town, I don't know, Watford roofing, I think there's potential to actually just rank just on the basis of all these links that we're in the process of building and going to build. So anyway, this is the kind of foundational linking process that I would use. On top of this, we use press releases, and what we're looking for is a diversification of IP addresses pointing to the website on a contextual basis. And this should be sufficient to give us the power that we require to go and rank. And then on top of this, what we then do is build cloud stacks, so then we borrow more domain authority. And somebody described it very well. It's basically like each of these is like putting a dime into a meter. It's going to take lots of them to get to 1 million, but the combined sum of these can become extremely valuable. So for me, this is an important part of the process to go through, and it's something that I would do. So we do this, then we do cloud stacks, then we do on top of that we'll be using press releases, and then finally, if required, we would add some more authority with either guest posts, niche edits, or potentially PBNs. And that combination of factors should be enough to basically drive us onto the front page for most of our search terms and generate lots of leads for us. And that's ultimately the directive here with the kind of rank and rent approach that we're taking. So I recommend using this. It keeps it organized. You can keep track of it. You can do a couple a day and just burn your way through. It's not all of them are going to be relevant. So for example, Bandcamp, you might say that isn't relevant. MySpace. So you can be selective about which ones. Quora's probably quite good, and as are some of the others. So there's a huge amount. I mean, in particular, Linktree ranks incredibly well at the moment. So this is something that's definitely worth. I've got Linktrees coming up, ranking for keywords in towns. So and that they're just an internal link that I built with them. So I think these kind of things are very important. Meetup as well. This kind of thing I think is. You can organise online groups. So basically, I'll show you an example of Eventbrite. So what we've done is we've created an event which basically is recurring. So it goes on for the next 2 years, every Thursday or whatever the day of the week it was. I think it was on a Wednesday. Basically, this event will be happening, and this will basically show how much the solar panels cost. So what we've created is some content around how much the solar panels cost. I've created a load of frequently asked questions, and then basically I'm giving the tickets away for free. Obviously there is no cost in attending it, but what we've got here is a really contextual link, which you'll see here, biotech renewables, and then included in this, we have a load of other platforms. So I've interlinked all of these together, and this is the thing that gives it the authority. So you can do this with job websites, you can do this with, there's loads and loads of different platforms that you can use, and these are the behaviours of a inverted commas real business. So they're the things that I think are really important in terms of just building it out. And if someone does come across it and they do want to join a webinar or seminar on how much do solar panels cost, then obviously we'd get notified and we basically give them a call and say, look, we're not running it this week. But this is the kind of approach that you can take that can work very well. The other one, which is pretty cool as well, is Calendly. So we've got a 30-minute meeting, so it's got a homepage link here, and then we've got some of the other platforms that we're listed on at the moment, and I'll probably expand this later to include additional platforms. And then what we're going to do is point these tier 2 links to this. But hopefully you can see how these are high domain authority websites. If we look at calendly.com, domain authority checker. If we look at this just from an Ahref perspective, this is and so I'm not just accepting what's being put in front of me from the piece of software, domain authority of 94. So if you can get a series of these pointing to your domain, it's not going to do you any harm, let's put it that way. And if you make them contextual, and so this is why I spend a bit more time on them, talking about the activities that we do and so on and so forth. This is the kind of thing that for me is important. I think it gives a bit more context. Anyway, hopefully that's useful, gives you some food for thought and maybe another way to approach it. But as I say, SEO Buddy, I'll see if there's an affiliate link in there and I'll put it in the description. But if not, SEObuddy.com, and then it's link chest. It was on AppSumo. I'm not sure if it's still on there, but anyway, either way, I think it's worth investigating. What you can also do is basically go into more local style sites as well. So you've obviously got all of these. Some of these are obviously featured already, but you can get into Yale, Angie's List, so on and so forth. And you can basically search these based upon, I think you can search based upon your geography as well. So there's the ability to all markets. So yeah, you can basically filter it via specific locations. So those that are relevant, those that aren't. But obviously this gives you a really deep way of securing, big authority, bark.com 85, merchant circle 85, etc. And there's literally hundreds of these. So there's no excuse to not have, a reasonable level of domain authority almost from the get-go. And it's a question of, is this something you want to spend your time doing, or are you going to get somebody else to do it? So anyway, food for thought. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll be back soon in the next one.